particular build did not work out the way that I had intended, and if it seems a little bit scatterbrained in terms of the production, it probably is, and I apologize for that. It's just kind of where my brain has been at these past couple days. So my original intent was to begin with this abandoned mine here on the Moss Creek branch. This is Woodland number 2, which is right off of the Pleasantville secondary on the Moss Creek branch. My goal today was really to complete the whole branch. I wanted to get this whole thing done. I kind of figured to myself, well, the main detail thing that I need to put down here, the main structure, is going to be this abandoned coal mine. So let me start from there, and then the rest is just going to be kind of like trackside scenicking. It wasn't that simple. It just, for some reason, I really didn't have an easy time with this particular abandoned coal mine. I don't know why, I just couldn't get into it. So the first little bit of this video is going to be this coal mine, and then I tried to work my way down the line a little bit, and I kind of get into a rhythm and do some more scenicking. Originally, I was actually, not originally, but when I got into editing here, I was going to remove this all these clips here of working on this coal mine, because I don't even end up showing it in the cinematics. It's an incomplete scene, but it's still something that's done. So here it is, and I guess that's just a thing for you guys to know, that not every scene that I begin to work and every plan that I have ends up going to plan right away. I will revisit this and complete the scene, but it definitely just didn't manifest itself in this particular episode. But nonetheless, I'm still happy with how this branch is coming out, even though I only got about a half a mile stretch of it completed. I do like the direction it's going. I tried some new techniques, which we'll see in just a moment here. I tried adding some new scenery and mixing some stuff in, and I'm pretty happy with how it's been turning out. But I guess the main thing that we're focusing on right at the moment is this abandoned coal mine. According to the original P&B paperwork, this mine has been out of service for about 12 years. So I wanted to make it look like the rails were still sort of in place, but they were pulled up, and maybe one day if they start digging deeper, they'll find coal again and reactivate rail service. That's sort of the intent of this one, that it's not fully abandoned for good, that maybe one day it'll go back in service in some capacity. And I wanted to make sure that there was an access road here, and I had all intentions of detailing this thing and fully fleshing it out, and it just didn't manifest itself. But I really don't know why. I was really stretching for bringing in some of the grass. I was thinking to myself, you know what, let me bring in some of the grass and shrubs and start getting in some of the other scenic elements, and then things will start to flow, and they just never did. So I had to move on. I had to move on to something else. But I did get some of it roughed in, and it's looking all right. I'm gonna have to dial some of it back, I think. Overall, some of the things that I've been doing recently on the P&B are starting to feel a little bit too muddy. I did want this branch to have a different look to it altogether, because it's supposed to be like the logging branch, and it's in a totally different area of the route. So I did want it to feel a little bit different, but I don't know if it's just the assets that I've been using lately and the texturing and some of the stuff we've been changing, but it's just been feeling a little bit more dark and gritty, and to some extent I like that, and to some extent I'm starting to feel a little bit limited. So I don't know, I just got to go through and mess around with some things a little bit and see if I can maybe bring in some other assets or brighten some scenes up or change the lighting or something like that, make it a little bit more moody. But this scene is pretty cool. I wanted to make sure that there was still some elements in here of formerly active track, the abandoned right of way, some rails still in place, the frogs still on the junction, and that sort of thing. And I think at the beginning of this next clip, which we're going to see in a second here, we're just going to forget about the rest of this particular part of the build and move up the branch a little tiny bit. And so my idea here in my head, I wanted to have, I guess, sort of like a swampy look, something I haven't done in a while or at all. And on my Discord and in various other places, I've been seeing a lot of people use this, what is that, an embankment spline? And it's just been something that's been in my mind where I'm like, man, I keep seeing all these great screenshots with this embankment spline. I got to give it a try. Let me try to work it in here. And this seems like a good opportunity to try to work that in. We've got the Moss Creek right next to the track here, and this just felt like maybe it'd be a calm part of the creek bed where maybe it's a little bit of a overflow area or floodplain. And this was challenging for me, I'm not gonna lie. I started to scenic this, and I was like, okay, this is feeling okay. maybe let me bring in some textures, let me bring in some shrubs. And then I got to a point where I felt like I put too much in and I wanted to cut it back. But I just kept pressing forward. I was like, let me just keep going and just see what I can get. Because what I find for me is a lot of times I can find myself to one little square patch of the route. And I'll go completely crazy detailing it or putting grasses and shrubs and rocks and whatever it else might be in this one spot, but the surrounding area doesn't quite blend. And then I'm like, man, have I gone too far with this one spot? It doesn't match this other spot. Now how do I get it to blend together? And really what it boils down to is just not confining myself into that one space, not restricting myself to just being like, okay, this is like a quarter-mile section of track that I'm just going to use the same assets in this one spot and, that's it. And then, we'll figure out how to blend it in together. I need to work a little bit more linearly when it comes to stuff like this and, refine my scenery, whatever. I don't know, my scenes. But like I said, I was really feeling apprehensive about how this was working out. Introducing these, I think these are supposed to be birch trees or poplar trees. They look like birch trees to me. White birch, at least that's what we have around here. So that's kind of what I was thinking, like this would be a really wetland area. We've got this overflow water, culvert, whatever you want to call it, from the inside of the mountain there. So I wanted to make sure that I integrated all this and the surrounding scenery matched what you would see in real life. And I know a lot of these birch trees like more damp areas in this kind of soil. And again, going back to what I said at the beginning, I wanted to have some different assets in here. I wanted this to be, a different place on the P&B. So I wanted different trees. I wanted something different. And I've been dying to use these groups of birches for a while, and this just seemed like a great opportunity. So I'm trying to work these in. I don't know how much more I'm going to spread them out around the rest of the route, or if I'm just going to keep them, on this branch. I'll feel it out, but I think that they look really good overall, and I'm pretty happy with how the scene ends up developing. But I'll tell you, man, like going through this scene, there was points where I was just like, all right, this is too much, and then no, this is not enough, and then this is too much. I really felt like I couldn't find a balance, and I don't know if that's just because I'm having a hard time focusing on working in this game right now, just because of what's going on in the world. My brain is divided into many different places, so it's been very difficult for me to stay focused. So I'm attributing some of that to that, and then this whole existential, like, why am I even bothering? But whatever, I'm not even going to get into that. Trying to have fun with this, and this is just a good way to escape, what's going on out there, and kind of shape something that's within my control, and shape the world that I'm enjoying. This is my map, and I'm just creating it to be, how I want it to be, and that's what's a lot of fun about this. But I guess the thing that really made me decide that, okay, this is starting to shape up a little bit nicer, is once I started putting down some of the P&B Jeeps. So to actually see some locomotives on there and some freight cars in the scene, then it started to feel a little bit better to me. It's kind of like, when you stare at like a painting, or you stare at like just anything, you just stare at a lamp, in your apartment or something, and you just start to think about how weird it looks, and you're like, wait, I've been staring at this thing forever, like, why is it just starting to look weird for me now? And it's only because you've been looking at it for so long that your brain starts making up all kinds of weird things. That's kind of how I started to feel with this, where I was just looking at it for so long, I was like, seems kind of strange, or like, I don't know, really abstract. But once I put the locomotives down, then finally I was like, okay, this works a little bit better. Now I can see some shape, I can see some structure. I've got some scale in here, because it's really difficult to know what kind of scale you're working with without something that how big it is. These trees could be as big or as small as, whatever, but, once you get a locomotive in there, how big a diesel engine is, what it looks like in real life. You actually get a sense of like, okay, maybe this is going to work. So at this point, I'm pretty happy with this scene, and that's about as much work as we're going to get done in this particular episode. I'm continuing work on this branch. I'd like to get it complete maybe in the next episode and get the whole thing done so we can have all of the Moss Creek branch done. But just in case you forgot, this is the logging branch. So I think that this is really cool. I tried to show some cinematics here in different lighting, and I'm pretty happy with it overall. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you've been enjoying the series and the other series that are on my channel right now. If you have, make sure to hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It always helps. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.